Good evening, every pony, and welcome to. Here we go again.
Oh,
2 weeks in a row.
Didn't even get like 4 words off.
You know, the best part is I knew I was going to do that too. Good evening, every pony. Welcome to Commentary is Magic's stream on today, May 6th, 2018. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
I am Emperor Bugle.
Big Cheese? No. Curse it.
I don't believe you. And Arakat.
Yeah, I don't believe the second one.
Cheese is out of town for the day, so we have our special patron guest, Cursed Chords, here. How are you, Cursed?
Doing great, honestly.
Good.
Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. Always glad to have you participate. So today we've got a fun topic to discuss about control, an archetype that none of us ever play or have any affiliation for or support playing or brew.
I thought this was a control stream, not a combo stream.
Finals. No.
No, instead, today we're talking about control, 3 different types of control in the core meta, each focusing on a different aspect of control, because there are a lot of aspects to this game. You've got players who are going to be trying to establish a large board presence with lots of powerful friends. You've got opposing control players that may be holding onto valuable disruptive tools in their hand or saving them for a later turn, or combo for that matter. And you've got, AJ.
AJ.
Buy some apples!
Yeah, buy some apples, all right.
You buy some apples yet?
Yeah, I bought apples. Don't feel good about it.
Y'all should buy more apples.
I don't think we should buy more apples. I think we've all had enough of apples for a while.
Just when we thought we were rid of them.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's, again, what we're here to talk about today. Despite the fact that control can seem overwhelmingly complex and difficult to play when you're starting from scratch, if you focus on one particular aspect of control, you'll find there's actually a lot of different ways that you can build it, and a lot of different cards that you can include in many different colors. In fact, today we're going to be touching on decks that are including four?
Five, I think.
Five,
Yeah,
yeah.
5.
5 colors in the game.
Everything but blue.
Of course, it's blue that's missing.
Of course. So we're going to
Which
start...
isn't to say blue can't control.
Oh no, blue absolutely can control.
Yeah. It just looks really, really funky. And doesn't work if your opponent doesn't play friends.
Yeah,
More or
does make
less.
it a little more difficult.
Raised it apart!
Racing apart. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into our first control deck here. I'm going to hand things off to Arakat.
Okay. So, Tempest Shadow takes a more personal, hooves-on, and above all, proactive approach to control. As the meme goes, you don't have to worry about your opponent playing good cards if they don't have any good cards to play. I'm too lazy to whip up art of the meme here, so you'll just have to use your imagination. But
I'm pointing to my head right now.
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
it's a good meme.
Yeah, I was just too lazy to do the art for it. Anyway, by now most players are familiar with the standard Tempest Shadow Storm Commander opening of paying 2 to flip her on the first turn, putting a Grover minion into play face-up, which lets their controller pick and discard that one important card from the opponent's hand.
Usually the one that doesn't have requirement.
I don't remember this.
Tell us more of this mystical, strange, esoteric line of play.
Gladly.
That's the one where you play Factory Jack and Exhauster, right?
No, that's your weird opening, which admittedly, if you can pull that off, has some merits to it, but the targeted discard from that opening is obviously valuable, as was previously mentioned. Anyone who has an entry friend discarded this way will agree that it made their life significantly more annoying. But I would actually argue that the real value from this situation comes from knowing what else they have in their hand.
Hand knowledge is pretty relevant.
A clever player can often figure out what the opponent will be doing for the next several turns just based on those 6 cards. or 7, however many.
Or 5.
But what if you kept doing that through the whole game?
Well, that would be irritating.
That would be irritating. It also mean
I would think Lyra would be angry.
I would think that Lyra would be angry too. But going through the whole game, knowing what your opponent has in their hand puts you on an entirely different playing field. You know what they're doing most of the time. And Tempest Hates Lyra is, as the name implies, primarily a hand-hate centric deck, but it cranks it up to 11. It doesn't just want to discard your stuff. It craves hand knowledge and wants to capitalize on that. By keeping track of what's in the opponent's hand throughout the game, it generally has a good idea of what the opponent is up to and can make better use of the mass discards, such as Coriander Cumin and Family Feud. Generally speaking, you should be able to connect on a card every single time one of those comes up. If you're lucky, you can get 2. And this one rare time, I got all 3 of a card, which was absolutely hilarious.
Ouch!
It was an entry card, too.
Did you only know about 2 at the time?
Nope.
You knew about all 3.
I knew about all 3.
That's pretty painful.
Yeah.
That actually came to really help me several turns later. But just in case the opponent actually starts getting things dumb, it also packs a suite of cards, all but guaranteed to drive your opponents up the wall. There's the ever-popular Stick. I like sticks. There's Luna Midnight, who is very, very scary, and also charges tax. Pay the tax, mare. Captain Applejack if they like playing friends, or prefer to go wide. But it also comes with Frozen in Magicite, Sunset Shimmer, Clever Calculator, and Dr. Hoof's Time Loop. These 3 cards play nicely with each other, and you can use them as a repeatable light chaos control option to just say, no, I don't want none of your apples. Or in combination with a face-off, such as the one initiated with Stick, to near permanently remove an annoying friend by forcing them to flip it.
Yep.
Now
And then, just in case they draw it later, well, basically nothing's safe, right?
we're coming back for yet another round of hand hate. The deck is originally Bugle's brainchild, though what's being presented here is my particular flavor of it. I found that the hand hate aspect of this deck is more interesting to play, and I'm running this over optimizations that Bugle later made that make the deck objectively better from a competitive standpoint.
But you do have more hand hate because of your Silver Stars.
It is, yes, I do have more hand hate in that sense, but your optimizations get more hand hate long game, which is what's important. Specifically, it's the inclusion of a pair of interdimensional portals. And you'll notice that several of the friends in this deck have when this card enters play effects on them, not when you play effects, which means that you can use interdimensional portal to great effect, because there's nothing quite as funny as flickering a Captain Applejack at immediate speed.
Oh, what's that? You wanted to DFO? How about no?
Nah. I'm thinking no.
I'm thinking Arby's. Sim is now sponsored by Arby's.
Oh my god.
We are not.
Brought to you by
I don't know, man.
Carl's.
If they give us roast beef sandwiches, I might be okay with that.
Brought to you by, okay, hold on. If you're gonna do this, we're gonna do like brought to you by Carl's Jr. or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
Idiocracy.
they're also like a block away from me, and I'm kind of hungry right now. So
Oh my god.
Ugh.
Okay, no, we're not doing Idiocracy as much as
Don't stream hungry, folks.
no, don't stream hungry. Yeah, so some of the more high impact friends can be flickered at immediate speed for hilarious effects. Another strong candidate for inclusion is Sweetie Belle Most Traditional, merely because you can sit there and pre-screen everything that your opponent could draw.
It's it's preemptive hand hate.
Preemptive hand hate, which is even better than regular hand hate, because then it's like, no, you can't have that one. You can have this one though. By the way, Dream Seized.
You wanted this fifth entry card, right?
Nah, I don't think so. Anyway, that I look at this deck as a framework that can be tweaked to your personal taste. The Lunas are actually not part of Bugle's original build. I didn't have enough sticks, so I put Luna in. Because she's basically like a stick.
She can be stick-like.
There was, at one point, I had a Tempest Shadow Stormcaller in here. And the primary reason that I had this in here...
Oh, God.
What? What? You know what I'm going to do, right?
More grubbers?
No. Well, yes, more grubbers, but I'd play it, and I'd be like, prepare for trouble. And then I'd turn it sideways, and then...
and
make it double.
To protect your hand from devastation.
More like to protect my board from devastation.
Yeah, it protects your board. Yeah.
Because it turns out it's real hard to plan hard when every
you
time
never have both halves.
you get one half of it, it goes away.
To divide all players within our nation.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
it's
I'm gonna do the whole thing later.
Oh boy,
I'm sure
I
you are.
believe it. But yeah, Luna actually fits the original spirit of the deck, because the original spirit of the deck was, I'm going to play a bunch of big friends, and the discard is just to protect the friends. And it kind of wound up being the discard became the primary focus instead of the big friends. But
I mean, it's still got big friends. It's got those rescue parties and the Lunas.
Limestones,
Catajacks. Big Mac if your opponent is playing the stupid grubber deck that has like 17 resources.
Sunset.
Sunset as well.
3 for 4.
Yeah.
Time Loop. I mean, they're all pretty big friends. So it's the control deck that either dies a control deck or lives long enough to turn into an aggro deck.
Basically. So that kind of like BRB, just a different tack.
Yep.
That's a pretty fair assessment, actually.
It's always a fun color combination, though. I've always got a soft spot for orange-purple.
What, just because Trading Traditions turn 1 Factory Jack exhausts a Factory Jack, play a Troublemaker?
Well, Waking Nightmare, really, but yes.
I'm sure this doesn't have enough chaos for your liking, though.
It's not meant to be a chaos deck.
No, it's not.
And the opening line of play can still be very good.
Yes.
So, nicely done.
Yeah, turn 1 Factory Jack into Dream Seas can actually make your opponent not happy with you too, because they know the grubber is still coming.
Yep.
That's also a very good point.
But you can't hit small entry that way.
No. Turn 1 Factory Jack, if you have no follow-up play, hold a Napcakes can be kind of funny too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's just...
as expected of purple-orange, it is tricksy.
It does the mean things.
It does in fact do the mean things. Shall we take a look at a different flavor of control?
This deck definitely does mean things.
Well, it's in the name of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, please, Bugle, go ahead. Move from Tempest Hates Lyra to this monstrosity.
To Meanie Bell. Because there's nothing sweet about this deck.
I'm not getting any Adorabetes from...
I mean, I'm getting a little bit of it, but...
So, the goal of Meanie Bell is actually to have a deck that functions without needing friends. As you probably noticed, there are only 5 friends in the entire deck, and most games you'll only ever need to play 1, and then only to flip Sweetie Belle. Ideally, you don't even need to play any, and just play a staff, which lets you flip Sweetie on an opponent's Trading Traditions or your own under Lock and Trade, which is going to be your default starting problem. And then the staff just lets her sit at problems and confront for a point every single turn while you start doing mean things. So case you're unaware, because Sweetie is not a commonly seen main, her ability is at the end of your turn, you get a resource back from your discard.
Any
And
resource.
Any resource. And this can mean that any non-banishing resource removal the opponent uses is temporary at best. They can get rid of your staff, but it's going to come back. They can get rid of your cardboard box or your fashion disaster or your changeling throne, but they're coming back, and unless they're playing purple, they probably can't do anything about that. Also, you might have noticed that yes, this deck does have 3 resource removal. A Petite Sneeze. And a Petite Sneeze is actually not that bad for Sweetie Belle, because you just discard 2 resources and you get them back, and it's like you didn't discard anything at all. Well, I mean, you do for a little bit. Anyway, the events here are to make your opponent's life a bit more miserable, as you can protect your troublemakers by ensuring you win face-offs, or bring them back from the discard, or just banish your opponent's scariest friends, or just banish all of them with Party of One. And in fact, feel free to Party of One their weakest friend if you happen to not have any. It's still pretty devastating. The deck's weaknesses are pretty apparent, though. If you can't flip Sweetie, you're in for a rough time. And Purple's resource banishment can cause you to lose all your key resources. And decks that can bypass troublemakers with ease might roll right over this deck, since it can't stop confronts at all, outside of preventing them in the first place with troublemakers. Or just getting rid of all your friends. But, when the deck works, it works pretty well. And if a deck can't handle this, it's basically just out. Also, farming loses to this almost every time.
Fashion Disaster is not a card I ever like to see played against me.
And this deck does not care. It's just like, yeah, rarity's gone, whatever.
And then you're going to be like, dismissed it. I'm just
play
going to
it
go
again
ahead and put that back into play.
Yeah. It'll take me 2 turns, but it's coming back.
So my question here is, you say this thing loses to, or you say that this thing beats farming almost every time.
Mhm.
But if you can't find a cardboard box early and AJ gets up to 5 power, what's to stop her from just confronting every turn?
Troublemakers?
Oh, okay, sure. The RMLSBs and the mimics that you're running yourself? Right. Okay, that's fair.
Because, yes, Applejack does have Big Macs, but you get your cardboard boxes back.
Yeah.
And you can turn around and start using Petite Sneezes on their Big Macs.
Also, you can use... it's going to work on their Big Mac, because if they ate a box, it's 3 power.
Oh, that's a darn shame.
Now, are you sure that the 1-turn window they have can't be capitalized on with box?
It can. If you're lucky, you have 2 boxes.
That's fair.
If you're not lucky, then sure, they can challenge a troublemaker, but you do have the cold waves and the wrinkle in times to try and buy time.
Forgot about the cold waves, yeah, and the crackings if you absolutely have to. Yeah, that's fair.
And even the changeling throne can help because of making it more expensive for their barrel throughs.
Your flip average in here is not tiny by any stretch of the imagination. Is it over 4?
It is over 4. I believe it's 4.3.
4.24, I believe.
Yes, 4.24.
It's like we should have those displayed up here or something, but...
So people can do quick math, right?
I mean, I did quick math.
I mean, I can copy and paste the link into a browser and look at it, but...
Actually, let's make sure we do that. Let's get some links for the decks we've showcased so far.
We should do that for both of these.
Okay, sure. Yeah, there actually are quite a few tricks that can help you deal with farming.
Yeah. And it does fine against not yellow aggro, but yellow aggro gives it a rough time.
Yeah, I can see why.
What,
So
you can't-
it is real funny to play this against pink when they realize 6 turns in that you're not going to play any more friends and they start discarding belly flops.
that's funny.
And then you surprise them with, haha, my extra rarity I had. That I absolutely
do
don't
play
need.
rarities. Yeah. I have, in fact, also used Infiltrating the Hive.
You made changeling tokens.
I made 3 in 1 turn to TFO.
Wow. That's a thing.
That's
I
a
mean,
thing.
I needed 2 points. So,
I mean, if it closes you the game,
yeah.
So you said that Lock and Tree is your default starter.
Yes.
So what is Trading Traditions in here for then?
In case you don't draw your. So the problem deck you might have noticed is kind of unconventional for a control problem deck, and that's because you want to be able to confront a problem with Sweetie Belle plus staff reliably. And all of these problems, except for blackmail, let you do that. Blackmail is the exception because it's blackmail.
Not by themselves, they don't. Trading Traditions and Infiltrating the Hive are going to require 1 additional power.
I said with staff.
Right, even with staff.
Oh, I meant a flipped Sweetie Belle. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
But yeah, because ideally you've already flipped her before Underlock and Tree is replaced. But yeah, sometimes you just don't happen to draw a pink resource, and having Trading Traditions is handy. Alternatively, sometimes against farm, you just want to start Trading Traditions because you can play box. Just go turn 1 aloe box. I don't recommend doing it quite that way, but if you needed to, you could play a box very early, even without a flip Sweetie Belle.
that's pretty greedy, but might be necessary sometimes.
You're gonna
Yeah,
mull for box anyway, so.
Right, you do mull for box.
So Lowrider asked the question in chat, if you're playing Changeling Mimics against farm, if you play Changeling Mimics against farm, which is generally only going to be after you've got AJ in a box, are you going to name Troublemaker or events or, honestly, resources more often?
Events, honestly, because of Barrel Through. Barrel Through is how they can actually beat Troublemakers. If they're going to get rid of your Mimics with a Troublemaker, you're fine, because really all you wanted there was a Troublemaker.
What you do want is the troublemaker sitting there and making them unable to do anything.
Right.
And flipping multiple cards, bad news.
Because they can possibly beat you that way. It's hard, but they can.
I think there's one other thing we need to bring up here.
Sure.
Which is, this deck is basically immune to plan hard.
Yes. Someone actually did plan hard like me. He was playing Applejack Pink Farm. He took my, I think, frightened frightened rarity, and then threw his party planners and Catajack and rarity at my 7-card hand.
Well,
it was not very effective.
And you discarded 3 resources and then picked them up over the next 3 turns.
I only discarded 2, sadly, but yes.
All right. Well, that gives us a very good look at what some core decks can do for board control.
Yeah, actually, sorry.
Friend control.
I just want to make one more thing.
Yeah,
sure.
It occurred to me as we were talking about it that, and this is just a random comment, but one could look at Fashion Disaster and say this is like Jerk Face, but for friends instead of action tokens, and that seemed like an odd way to say it to me, but perhaps I never really looked at the card that way before.
Yeah. I guess it's probably worth talking about Fashion Disaster a little bit because it's a card people don't play very frequently, so they don't see it very frequently. In an effectively friendless deck like this, it can be pretty brutal, as you now have huge AT advantage. If the opponent wants to have friends in play at all, they have to pay for it. And I believe Cursed felt that effect pretty strongly.
Yeah. Have any amount of critter tokens in the field, and it's not fun. and that moment of realization, you're like, man, that's just not going away. That's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I've regrettably had a lot of experience with that card in my locals, and it's really not fun to play against if you're relying on those friends for color.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we should talk about Curse's deck.
cheese curds?
Cheese curds deck, yeah.
Cheese curds. One true pairing.
Seriously, where's the poutine?
Oh, actually, I guess we do need to mention the wake up calls. That is the only card in the deck that can blow itself up. But yeah, wake up call is important because you need to protect yourself against purples. Rest in pieces.
Yep.
Shenanigans.
Anyway.
Okay, shifting this thing back into forward.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to it now.
Yes.
Okay.
Take
All you.
Right. So anybody who's seeing this new deck come up might be forgiven for saying, "Hold on a second. This stream was supposed to be 3 control decks."
What is this? This is a purple-yellow deck.
There are day shifts. There are dilemmas. What is this?
But there are.
Okay.
But go ahead, Aura.
There aren't any moon dancers.
Right, so it can't be an aggro deck.
Precisely. But anyway, I call the deck 5 stars because there are 5 Celestias in it, and astronomy jokes. But
can you hold on a minute, Cursed? You've got emergency services in the background that's making a lot of noise there. Apologies about this. That's way too loud on stream.
Sorry about that. I believe they're gone now.
Okay.
They're trailing off. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, one of the problems of living downtown. Anyway, so the deck is essentially, you might want to maybe call it mid-range if you want to start an argument, but it can function.
Don't you dare.
It's probably the least control-oriented of all the decks here tonight, but it can still be incredibly annoying to play against. They're back again, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, they are.
Give me a second.
Rainbow Dash has been stealing books again or something. It's like, you could just go buy those. Or ask to borrow them from your friend.
No, you're supposed to steal them from hospitals. That's the only way to acquire books.
Okay, I think we're quiet again. All right. Hopefully that's the last interruption. Yeah. It can still be super annoying to play against.
Godot says they're coming for you because you violated the theme of the stream. With your aggro deck.
Control cops.
I mean, try playing against it. and you'll see. It can be ridiculous. Especially, once it's like turn 4 and we've scored like 7 or 8 points and you haven't flipped your main over yet. That's a pretty annoying place to be. So basically, the original idea behind the deck came from when I saw that Spike essentially is a house. He's incredibly good against farm. You kind of pair him up with Sakura and Bewitched Beavers, and you're dealing pretty much with everything that Applejack tries to do. If she ever plays a staff, we just get rid of it, and we stop her from ever being able to start a face-off if we have Spike around. Notably, purple and yellow are the only 2 colors with immediate speed resource removal. Purple's options aren't. Yeah, I mean, I can see myself maybe putting in Rest in Pieces in here, but primarily it's Beavers that's good.
You could even your only resources are the 2 Singing Barrel, so you could probably afford to run Mysterious Disappearance.
We could. We are not going to have a resource in play during a face-off, so we don't have that risk. So it's a possibility, and that is advantage. After I saw your deck, I'm considering it now.
I wonder why.
And in the aggro matchup, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That is an immediate speed. There's nothing
Yeah.
quite as funny as letting a player play a stick and then looking at them and going, no, and blowing it up before they get to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then priority windows, yo.
It's even funnier if it's a Castle of Friendship.
I like to wait for them to activate the stick, and then you blow it up and win the face-off.
That's fine as long as it's not an AJ.
Sure, yeah.
Buy some apples.
And sometimes you still lose the face-off and lose that gambit.
Yeah, a strong flip average this deck does not have.
This is true.
Sorry, continue.
All right, sorry. They were coming for me again there a little bit after, and I wanted to. Thank God you guys kept talking.
Thanks, Alessia.
Yeah. So anyway, it's also people in the hallway right now.
Yeah.
Can someone perhaps pick up the thread? No. Oh, no, okay, maybe we're good. Geez, I'm really sorry for this.
No, this isn't your fault. Oh no, aggro decks.
All right. So we were talking about
Resource removal.
yes, resource removal for staff before AJ can even use it for a flip.
Yes.
Another option, of course, since you are running Tempest as your main, is put a Grubber out there on turn 1 and don't even let Stick hit the field.
Yeah.
This can also be, of course, very strong against aggro, who are generally built on the backs of very specific cards in their decks. Sometimes those cards are named main 6. Other times those cards are named
Rainbow Dash, Loyal Pony, or Aloe.
Rutherford.
There's quite a few. Yeah. We're gonna stall for
There's
time here for Cursed. We
one or
should.
two.
So Cursed, we clearly need to set you up with a Patreon so that you can move away from the police and go into hiding.
Wouldn't that be a Kickstarter?
I think it would be a GoFundMe.
Yeah, it's about to. That's more like a GoFundMe.
sure.
Yeah. Either that or we need to hire a lawyer. That seems like something. Well, I don't know.
Anyway, this deck actually has 6 resource removal, which is a lot, but Brian does do double duty here. Well, triple duty, I guess. Well, I guess the Chaos isn't really duty.
No, the Chaos is good. I don't know what you're
I
talking
mean, the
about.
Chaos is good, but it's not like... It's not a thing he does, it's a thing that happens.
Oh dear. Evidently, this got a lot more interesting for Cursed because someone burned something while cooking in very close proximity to him.
Yeah, so the Sirens were, in fact, apparently coming to his place.
It was Sweetie Belle. She burned the juice.
She burned the juice.
She burned the juice, yes. I apologize, Cursed, for talking about Sweetie Belle.
Burning juice?
Yeah. Well, me talking about Sweetie Belle summoned Sweetie Belle to his apartment.
And burned the juice.
And burned the juice.
Bernie Bell.
Bernie Bell.
Well, the good news is that it was like I get to stay in the apartment at least. It's not like a serious problem.
Sure.
Okay, this is good. Are you sure that things are not on fire right now?
I checked with the fire crew and they said it was fine.
Is there a small
Don't
white
drink
unicorn?
the juice.
And yeah, is there a small white unicorn anywhere?
Yeah.
You should hug her.
You should, but don't drink the juice.
All right. Go ahead and feel free to pick up, Cursed.
Sure. Where were you?
Resource removal.
Resource removal. Right. Yeah. So we also have some tools against aggro, because, as was pointed out in the RS deck, you can just pull Grubber on turn 1, hopefully pull out an entry friend. If you're playing against blue, you're looking for the loyal ponies. Essentially, against aggro, you're pretty much always looking for the loyal ponies these days, but yeah. And the idea, the dream is to like put that out, and then you're shooting for probably a cover to cover, and then maybe a sunburst, and then day shift into like changing citizens, and then at that point you're off to the races. You don't care that they're playing an aggro deck, you're playing a better aggro deck, and they maybe still haven't put their main yet. And that's essentially been my experience against blue and yellow. You just outrace them from that point on. Now, notably, from some of my experience today, you do need to be like careful with your day shifts. Like you might think to yourself, I just DFO'd, now I get to put Spike up at a problem because why not get that free traveler trigger? But it's often better to leave them at home so that way, if your opponent tries to do something, you then have that trigger available to move something of them home on your next DFO. And similarly, you want to be careful with those changeling citizens because you don't want to give your opponent the opportunity to start a single face-off. This deck has most of its problem acceleration in most of its point acceleration in its problem deck, and so there's gonna be the opportunity for the opponent to score a lucrative single face-off if they can make it work.
Either that, or you'd have to load up so heavily on the problem to disincentivize it.
Mm-hmm. But well, day shift gives you one friend to each problem. So
speaking of your problem deck, I see you have a single copy of Moondancer, Cheering Up Moondancer, which seems slightly hard for your deck to confront.
It is going to be hard, yeah. Raptor Razor can do it sometimes.
Not by herself.
Well, not by herself, but she'll help. That one is actually a little bit of an artifact from the list that I adapted from, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can perhaps swap that. Maybe for another. What is a good one for this? Something. Anyway, speaking of Raptor Razor, she's very good against farm. It's a card that like essentially was bad in the Defenders of Equestria meta because everyone was running Hot Wings, but nowadays when everyone's running farm, or at least some people are running farm, it's really, really good to be able to get 6 and 5 tokens for 3 AT sometimes.
I mean, people play Chrysalis.
Yes, actually, people do play Chrysalis. 7 sometimes, yes.
Best queen. I'm basically obligated, okay?
We're not blaming you, at least not publicly.
It is in his contract.
We need to revisit the partnership agreement and add a clause for our account.
And kind of like the bit that says something about Arby's for you? Yeah, okay.
No, don't add that one in. I'm changing my mind. Now I want Taco Bell.
But we're sponsored by Arby's. You can't eat at Taco Bell.
No, Taco Bell, Belle.
Where our juice is usually not burned.
Never mind. I'm just not going there. It's fine.
So anyway, like traditional quotation marks, purple control and not Bugle's deck, we are seriously vulnerable to Plan Hard and to Catajack as well, is running most of the farming decks. We don't really have a good answer to it, except for Grubber and picking off something, which we do sometimes. Like that's why even against farm, I generally will probably drum up Grubber at some point in the early game, just for the chance to get rid of a stick or a Catajack or a main 6 or something. With the assumption that I've hard mulligan for a spike, and I probably have one in my hand already, because at that point it doesn't quite matter. It's just you want to have a troublemaker out. But yeah, that's 5 stars. I expect it to be. Sorry, I expect it to be favored against Farm, although notably I haven't won a game with it against Farm yet. But
I mean, you won the original game against Farm when you were like, how many pieces of my deck should be anti-Farm? 47?
Sounds
let's
good.
bring it back.
that did work. Yes.
That one did work. Surprisingly, when you build a deck with a single-minded focus to shut down one particular archetype, you'll probably shut down that archetype.
Said archetype gets shut down, yes.
So,
You'll probably lose to everything else, but, whatever.
It's
so
okay.
I think you learned another valuable lesson about Traveler before.
Yes, that's a very good point. That Traveler is optional. Most of the mainstream farming decks these days pack Food Fight just to deal with stuff. And in that situation, yeah, you want to keep Spike at 2 because Traveler is optional, and you want to keep him protected. You can just
Please keep him out of the danger zone anyway.
Yeah, Farm basically can't do anything to him at that point except plan hard.
Plan hard or stick, which we would get rid of
Sure,
right
stick,
away.
I guess.
Although if we're in a Harmony environment, you might have to worry about someone slamming a yoink on the table out of nowhere.
If we're in a Harmony environment, I don't think orange bothers splashing for pink.
Yeah.
If we're in a Harmony environment, I just keep Spike at 1 then.
No, for a Harmony environment, you keep Spike at 1 by virtue of he's got a clipped wings on him.
Yeah.
Good point.
If we're in a Harmony environment, we're putting white in here, running a card called Zipper Will, and running another card called F-Stop.
Oh, no,
Taking
no,
out
no
day
more puppies.
shifts,
No more puppies. Too many puppies.
Oh, well. The deck does do an excellent job of controlling opposing main characters. Regardless of whether or not you're up against farming, if you're up against something like Balloona, this can also be very frustrating.
Yeah. Sorry.
Scootaloo also ends up, anything that really wants to be up at a problem. Anything with a stick, assuming that stick sticks around. I see what I did there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the principle of Applejack works just as well for there are troublemakers, and we keep them off them, and then we confront behind them just as well. And then at some point we're 4 or 5 points ahead, and we say, "Hey, let's aggro now."
So okay, do have to ask this, as this is such a not typical control inclusion. You have 2 dilemmas.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to go into the rationale behind dilemmas? As a traditional control deck doesn't like giving the opponent extra things to confront.
Yeah. Well, they're useful when we're in aggro mode. If I were to run against a serious hard control deck on the other side, perhaps say these decks that we just mentioned on the other 2, this deck has a hard time outvaluing serious control, and so we want to play the aggro style. Yeah, that's essentially it. It's essentially this deck sometimes plays aggro, and aggro wants it.
Yeah, that and your Raptor Razors are the only answers to troublemakers, so that makes sense. And Raptor Razor only works sometimes. Usually.
Yes.
Usually. But
Usually.
not always.
Trixie is sometimes a problem with her. I mean, sure. Yeah, you
Just
just
play her at home and have
play her
her
at home
critter
and,
minions.
Yeah, put the tokens over there.
Now I'm thinking I want to use Raptor Razor with Under the Wire against opposing farming. Sorry. Random thought. Talking about fun cards.
Philly's second Raptor Razor.
That's too expensive.
More fun.
But it's so expensive.
You have Pinky delivering cupcakes to the princess.
Just give us a main that says your first friend
No.
each turn
no,
has
No,
hasty.
No. Look, you already proposed one idea I shot down today.
I did, but it
Right,
took
so
you
he's
a
gotta meet
while
his
to
quota.
shoot it down.
No, it didn't. It took me all of typing the relevant thing into the search and going, no, additionally,
Yeah,
no.
but that means you didn't immediately find something off the top of your head. Anyway.
I didn't immediately... Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
Yeah.
3 different styles of control. 3 different play styles. 3 different color combinations. Lots of value that can be had. But again, it really just comes down to knowing your meta, knowing what you're going to be up against, and trying to play around that.
Yeah, a
Pretty
control
much.
deck is only as good as its meta.
Yep.
If you're trying to play Mini Bell in an environment full of blue, yellow, aggro, and purple control, you are going to have a sad time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at some of the top control decks from Gen Con and how they came about, and many times those were built reactively to what else was going on.
Can you say Waking Nightmare?
I can say Waking Nightmare. I can also say... I'll go with the middle one for your sake, Aura. So now Go Moon, 1,000 years, bye-bye, vanish time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If Cheese was here, he'd do the full thing.
No, he wouldn't.
Cursed, you're in Cheese's place. Say the full thing.
None of you actually remember the full thing off the top of your head. And no, Googling is cheating. Don't.
We fear you have misunderstood our intentions.
Done.
Because you can't
That's
remember
it.
the
There are
rest of it.
definitely no additional words
There-
after that.
Right. No words.
Definitely not. VBot, honestly. The adjusted version of VBot running a few specific tools.
The one that debuted at BabsCon was definitely a meta crusher.
It was, and then got crushed in turn,
Yeah.
and then adjusted. Yeah.
Well, and a new set came out, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We did have that new set. That was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that will cover our discussion on these control decks for today. And before we wrap up, I just want to share some upcoming information for those of you who are going to be attending or watching Everfree Northwest 2018. Get hype.
2 weeks?
Yay!
2 weeks.
Oh my god, it is
I
2
will
weeks.
be here talking to you fine folks that are here and not there. I will not be talking to the fine folks that are there.
I hope you'll be talking to us. We need communication with you.
No. What? One way.
Okay.
That's the best way to do things.
This seems worse. Anyway,
Yeah, it'll be
Everfree is going to be a great time. We've got all kinds of CCG events that are active and visible not only on our Reddit post, but also on the Everfree Northwest official event schedule. And we're going to have a lot of different tournaments. We're going to have a core tournament, a harmony tournament, meme sealed, team sealed, of course, draft, and a few other events that you may not have played in before that we wanted to just briefly highlight here. The first of which we've talked about previously. That is a Nightmare tournament. And those of you who have not participated in this, well, you're probably not missing much. No,
You are totally missing everything.
Nightmare is actually hilariously fun if you go into it with a good sense of humor. The idea of a Nightmare tournament is there are no banned cards from those that are legal to be played. Meaning no business cards.
No business cards, no blank cards, no
if you
Twilight
can track
Sparkle.
down a copy of Twilight Paradox Pony, you can play her. Good luck.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now that one's actually banned because
No. She should be legal.
it is explicitly banned because it's an unfair advantage to the one person who has that card.
Sure,
I realize
advantage.
we're
Sure.
talking about. Yeah, sure, okay.
Anyway, it's a chance to see all the degeneracy that
What
has
about
been
hooves?
present across multiple. There were 130 hooves or something like that given out. It's a chance to see all the degeneracy that's been present in this game over the years, and we don't have to deal with anymore. And how glad we are not to have to deal with it anymore because of what you can do.
And even some flavors of degeneracy that you might not write down as degenerate. Hey kids, do you remember when you could get a, what was it, 11-point turnaround in a single DFO?
Pepperidge Farm
3
remembers.
plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1. Yeah, 11.
That sounds fun, doesn't it? Not toxic at all. Totally not toxic.
Your Tantibus does indeed have value, Lowrider. You can bring a full Tantabuse deck list out to Everfree, or send it to someone else who's going if you're not attending in person. Now, as far as a event that may have some broader appeal to it, but is no less hilarious, on Sunday we will be running a Chaos is Magic tournament, and that is the name of the event, despite the fact that it also shares that name with the monthly rule set that I don't know when we've had that last updated.
While back.
It has been a while. Chaos is Magic is a fun, sealed event where people get some cards, you open them, you build a pack, and then you play the game. And the officials,
No,
the judges,
hold on.
Go ahead.
You try to play the game.
You try to play the game, and the judges are doing their absolute best to stop your ability to play the game by constantly changing the rules and giving you free stuff. Because
And
free stuff is cool.
being like, hey everyone, here's a pack. You should open the pack and put a card into play. Put the rare into play, in fact. What do you mean? My rare's a problem. Too bad, put it into play.
It's now a dilemma.
Yeah.
Hope you got a problem deck for that. Hey, what happens if it gets replaced? It's only one problem in that deck, huh? Be a darn shame if you open a fire when ready.
Oh dear.
And there's a lot of madness to take place in Chaos is Magic.
Are we going to see the return of Flitterbug?
Maybe.
It's possible to see the return of Flitterbug. Yep, Blue Fairy in chat has played Chaos before. It's a lot of fun.
I don't know. See, the problem with Flitterbug is the last time Flitterbug showed up, she blew up my Flufflepuff Troublemaker within
Well, whose
5
fault is
seconds.
that?
Yours, clearly.
I wasn't even there.
I'm blaming you for this.
I just went Donut Steel again.
Oh dear. Well, the other problem with Flitterbug is I have to get Feather's approval for that.
Yeah. Now, in this case, we're putting all this chaos to good use, though. This is actually going to be a charity chaos event. So all the proceeds of this are going directly to the charity that Everfree supports.
Do we know more about that?
I believe it's listed on their website.
Yes, we can get a link to the Everfree page about this. So around here.
Yeah, I'm scrolling, looking for it as well.
I found it.
Did you?
Yeah, it's hiding under the events thing.
Ah, okay. So it's chaos for good. Like Discord, if he was actually reformed.
Reformed chaos, yes.
Yes.
It.
But those and our other events are sure to be a great time. So if you have not already bought tickets for Everfree, I believe there are still tickets for the convention that are available, although you may just have to look at other hotels in the area, as this one is completely full.
There's people attending, yeah.
It's going to be big.
So like 3 or 4 thousand, million?
Million, yeah.
Sure, seems good. Anyway, I believe that's going to wrap up our discussion on Everfree and these control decks for the evening, unless I'm missing anything.
Well, I guess it's worth saying that I'm going to be commentating with Living Silver.
Yes. Yes, you will.
We don't know exactly which events we're going to commentate on right this moment, but we're figuring that out, and we will let you fine folks know as soon as we know. Should be a fair number of them.
Yeah.
So
I'm very happy you're not going to be there playing your stupid control deck.
so what you're going to have to deal with Skitter and Soko playing their stupid control decks.
What Cursed is saying, folks, is that if you're going to Everfree, you should take Meanie Bell because that is the deck that he most wants to play against.
Yep.
That's what I heard. All right. We would like to give a big shout out today to all of our patrons on Patreon, including Cursed Chords. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron, but you enjoy what we do, please do consider donating, because doing so will give you some awesome rewards, like the ability to vote on polls to determine what future videos we produce, a chance to share your own deck creations to be reviewed live, sometimes spur of the moment, like today, and even the ability to challenge members of Sim or other patrons to feature duels using some wacky rules. If you have comments or questions you'd like to send our way, or if you're just interested in hearing what we're working on for the future, there are many ways you can stay in contact. We have our Patreon, as mentioned previously, but we also have a Facebook page at facebook.com/commentaryismagic. We're on Twitter at CIM_CCG. You can email us at commentaryismagicteam@gmail.com, and patrons at or above the $5 per month level get access to our Slack channel where you can chat with us live any day, anytime. Someone is always awake. If you're looking to watch... Sorry, go ahead.
90% of the time, someone's awake every time.
Yes. If you're looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings like those that will be up following Everfree, or those that are up from BabsCon, or Gen Con, or other events, you can find them on our
Everfrees.
Or previous Everfrees, or previous Gen Cons. You can find them in our YouTube channel, linked in the sidebar. Make sure to subscribe while you're there so we can fix our channel URL. With that said,
How
thank
close
you.
to that are we?
We're getting there. Another 40 or so.
Slowly.
Thank you to...
Surely.
Yes. We will get there eventually. Thank you, though, to...
Random interruption.
My gosh.
I'd like a pony.
Every time. Thank you to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later. We are Commentary is Magic. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
I am in preview.
Big Cheese, that's your cue.
Sorry. Big Cheese is near right now. Curse, of course.
And our cat.
And we'll see you next week as we discuss opportunity costs.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a very interesting one, actually.
Make sure you don't miss it. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya.